With all that's going on right now, it may not feel like it, but there's a great big world out there. And lots of high school students are getting some real world experience by enrolling in career technology education courses all around San Antonio. Ben Peterson, Senior Director of the Northeast ISD CTE program, says they're flattening a curve of a different kind, a learning curve. Welcome to BexarCast. I'm Randy Langford, and this is BexarCast, a weekly interview with business, political, education, and nonprofit leaders. We're examining the relationships between all four and how each one benefits from the success of the other three. After earning his bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies at the University of Houston and a master's degree of education at Trinity, Ben Peterson served his country in the Army. That time as a sergeant may have led to his career in education. He's been with San Antonio's Northeast ISD since 2004 and today is the Senior Director of the district's Career and Technical Education Department, where he leads CTE programs across the city. Ben, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you making some time.
Thank you. Looking forward to it, Randy.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. So I don't imagine this is what you signed up for when you decided to be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
This
Yeah.
this remote gig that we're all doing now. How are you dealing with what has turned out to be an unimaginable year?
Yeah, no, it's obviously it came up as such a surprise,
Yeah.
now, what was it, 6, 7 months ago now. But I really think that those of us that are in education, we got into it because we enjoy using our creativity to different extents, and
Sure.
we've really been pushed to do that now. So we are out of our norm for sure, but we are seeking our creative geniuses at this moment to really make things happen and keep kids actively engaged in their learning. So it's been fun in that way.
Well, and I would think that'd be a particular challenge for folks like you who are in the career training area, that there's so much face to face
Yeah.
with that kind of instruction. How do you deal with that during a pandemic when you can't be face to face?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the most common comparison I can make for folks is I kind of see it like the football team. I mean, how do you get a football team trained up remotely? How do you prepare for a game or a season remotely? And our teachers are in that same boat right now. We have so many courses that require hands-on application. We have courses that require some really sophisticated equipment that is only going to be available to the students in the classroom, and then maybe even sophisticated software that most students don't have on laptop devices that are at
Sure.
home, or those Chromebooks that our schools have been able to get out to so many of our students. So it's been tough, but again, we've kind of tapped into the creativity of our teachers. Thankfully, there are some opportunities for our kids to come into some of our classes. The
Right.
state recognized early on that there are some CTE courses that, despite distance learning, these students are going to have to come in for some sort of learning in these courses.
Right.
Uh, One of the most popular examples I use, because people understand it, it's welding. You can teach some of the safety aspects of welding and some of the scientific aspects of welding via remote learning, but you can't teach welding
Right. There's no
until you
such
put
thing
it.
as virtual welding.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's tough. So we are getting some of our kids back in small increments, either early in the morning or in the afternoon. But we're really ready for those kids to get back in the classroom.
I bet there's nothing more passionate. I know for a fact there's nobody more passionate than a school teacher in front of a classroom full of kids.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
that energy is impossible to repeat or
Absolutely. Yeah.
to create.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you see the pandemic having a long-term effect on how education is delivered and received? I, I know that's a big question, but is education going to be changed? The way we deliver education going to be changed forever, or once this is over, will we go back to the way the school looked last year?
I, I think that, well, I hope that there are a lot of aspects that we're able to get back to immediately and keep forever, right? But I do think that probably most significantly, uh, the use of technology will be adjusted in a positive way as we move forward also. forever we had these laptops and computers at our disposal, at our fingertips, and they sat there, and they can make our work so much more efficient sometimes. Yet some of us were never really trained on how can I implement this piece of technology into my classroom teaching. We've been forced to learn that now. And there are some efficiencies that are popping up going, wow, I can assess student work so much easier
Who knew?
this
Right.
way, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think there will be some positive impact to the changes as we move forward. But I think some aspects are obviously going to come back full circle,
Well,
sooner or
like you say,
later.
welding and hands-on instruction and things like that just can't be replicated other than face-to-face. Sure.
Right.
I've had lots of people on the podcast talking about education and how it relates to entering the workplace.
Mm.
And that's one of the goals of BexarCast, is to prepare high school students to enter the job market. With the way the festival is set up, we put kids in a position where they form a team and they have a client that they have to interact with. And that's, again, one of those things that you don't necessarily get in school, because you know everybody and everybody knows you, and it's not that awkward, we got to get to
Right.
know each other kind of situation. How valuable, from your position as a CTE expert, how valuable is that real world work experience, that awkward moment?
It's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. To me, it comes down to exposure, exposing our students to opportunities that we as adults are comfortable with, but we didn't become comfortable with until we ourselves were exposed to, right? So that is one of the greatest things about CTE, is it does expose our students to, working in partners. It really exposes our kids to taking all the core curricula that we've learned from kindergarten up to high school or middle school and applying it, really truly applying my English, math, science, and social studies skills here in class. And then, like you said, and this is what we hear from the workforce side of things more often than not, is can they work together and can they communicate? And when you have them working on a project such as those projects you have the students build with BexarCast, it's incredible teamwork and it's unparalleled communication with the stakeholders, those from the nonprofits, as well as their team and their teacher, their boss and their coworkers, if you will. So it's a great experience, great experience. So thankful for those.
One of the experiences that we want the kids to get is receiving feedback.
Mm.
So a lot of them have never been in the position that we're putting them in, as being a peer to an adult instead of parent child or teacher student. This is vendor client, so they're interacting with adults as peers, and part of the process is you come up with your concept for your video and then you present it to your client. They give you their feedback, good or bad, and you have to incorporate that. You have to receive it in the spirit that it's meant. It's not personal. They're not mad at you. It's not you. It's the product. Again, putting kids in that position where this is how the real world operates. I would think that would be okay. That's a value at 16, because now I'm not as scared at 21 when I go through that again.
Sure, absolutely. No, that's another benefit of our CTE programs, is it allows them to have those type of experiences, getting that constructive feedback on your product, and then adjusting it to what the teacher, or maybe the teacher's playing the part of
Right.
The vendor, what they need and what they want and what they expect. So you're absolutely right. Being able to adjust to that, to take that, not take it personally, but take it constructively.
Right.
Again, just another priceless aspect of that part of that kid's education.
The way BexarCast started out was a way for high school students to learn media production, how to shoot video, how to record audio, and that's part of the process. But there's the technical side of media production, and then there's the storytelling side.
Mm.
So they're being exposed to both of those. But there's also just no matter what field you're in, whether it's media or medicine or the law or construction, there's just the roll up your sleeves and go to work side.
Yeah.
And I've had teachers tell me that students are getting that too. that no matter what field you're in, you need to understand the process of going from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4 and working your way through the project, whatever the project is, however you define that. It's not you see the mountaintop and I'm going to get there. You need to see the road too. Again, where does that fall in the value chain?
Again, it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. Can you imagine a kid entering the workforce not having that experience? They're really, for the lack of a better term, they're going to be shell shocked when they realize it's not textbook work. When they realize that there are customers with very high expectations because there is, money on the line. Just learning that as a 22, 23, 24-year-old can really put some people into a downward spiral.
Sure.
To where they reflect back on and think, you know what, I studied the wrong thing. I just didn't have the right experiences getting to this point. I enjoy the art, but not so much the science.
Right.
Or I enjoy the science, but not so much the art of this. But it's that combination of really taking all those aspects and, again, exposing those aspects to our students early on to where they can say, I love this. I feed off this. This is what I'm good at. Or they find that part of the team that they say, you know what, nobody else could speak to the client. I was the one that was able to really speak with the client. I found my strength through real world application, So yeah, again, Randy, what BexarFest provides our students is completely 360 degrees encompassing around what you need to do for student preparation for the real world.
Well, that's kind of what we had in mind. One of the elements that we had a lot of conversation about while we were designing BexarFest was what we want to give students a chance to work in media and tell a story, but what's that story going to be? And the original thought was, well, we'll let them tell a story about their school. So there's no traveling, there's no releases or anything like that. They just tell a story about the band or tell a story about the cafeteria. And we came off of that idea pretty quickly for a couple of reasons. One, really doesn't contribute a whole lot to the community. And two, you're still in your comfort zone. You're not stretching yourself. It's still you talking to other students, and we can make this more effective, more beneficial. And to your point about trying different things, it's probably not very efficient, but I think BexarFest is part of that smorgasbord of experiences where students, like you said, students try media production and, running the camera and editing video and setting up lights, really not me, but that interaction with the client, I like that. That got me fired up. So maybe I'm the behind the scenes producer. And some of them will be drawn into it. Some of them will want to be part of the media and others won't, but at least they've tried it.
Absolutely.
Like broccoli. They're learning about themselves just by experiencing that process. And it seems like that experience would be valuable in and of itself, even only a matter of elimination. Okay, well, tried it, didn't like it, what's next?
At least they tried it for free through their public educational experience rather than waiting until they get into a college program and 3 years into the college and realizing, oh, this is not for me, right?
Yeah, maybe I don't want to be a lawyer. Yeah, that's an expensive decision to make 3 years in.
Yes.
And one more element about what you and I cross-pollinate about is the cultural experience. Again, when we were designing BexarFest, we can let you make a video about your band. Well, yeah, but you already know about your band. Let's put you someplace that you're not familiar with and let you experience not only what they do, but how they do it and why they do it. And that's how we came up with the nonprofit connection, was we wanted to immerse these students in what I call a culture of caring.
Yeah.
That you're engaged with people for a significant period. I mean, we make the pairings in September and the videos aren't completed until January. So there's months of these kids working with a nonprofit organization, a lot of different people in a nonprofit organization. And they get to see people working in an altruistic endeavor, working for more than a paycheck. They have a goal and a passion and a commitment to what they're doing, and hopefully the students in that process will pick up some of that by osmosis. And I may be making this too grandiose, but they take that with them. And when they do go into the real world workforce, yeah, the paycheck's nice, but I can get a paycheck anywhere. What else you got?
Right.
Is that a value?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, and I was just reading an article the other day about how a lot of tech companies are recruiting their employees, and before compensation,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of folks these days, and they're looking for the culture. Does this company have a culture that I'm aligned with? And then, okay, maybe what's the pay? But I think that drives culture. Is, you know, how do you respect your community? How do you participate in your community? So for the kids, again, to be exposed to that, because so many children are just confined to the four walls of maybe their home and their school.
Right.
By being able to take them out and show them, you know, these different nonprofits that the students have worked for. Yeah, I think there's a sense of pride and commitment to something bigger than themselves through that, and that's so important to expose kids to at that age in particular.
So where we talked a little bit about this, but where do you see specifically the world of CTE going in the post-COVID world that we're going to live in?
Yeah,
Aside from mechanics,
yeah,
how is the culture of CTE going to change? Is the ambition of CTE going to change?
I think so. I think that culture was already beginning to shift. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, when there started to be legislation passed refocusing its efforts on career and technical education, and really not only just career and technical education, but career and technical education that contributes to the region or the state in which the school's located. Um, as CTE director, it's going to be my job to look at the labor market information that's given out by the state to make sure we're preparing these kids for jobs that require, you know, are highly skilled positions, jobs that are growing, highly in demand, and hopefully we're preparing these kids for high wages, also wages that will sustain a family's growth. You know, so that's
Right.
really what we're looking at, and that transition has really changed the culture of CTE to how can we prepare our kids, how can we as CTE professionals contribute to our community by preparing these students for a pipeline that needs to be filled. And in a robust city like San Antonio, we have a wide array of programs that we need to prepare these kids for. So that's the fun thing, you know, participating in a CTE program in a big city where you have so many students and schools. We can really offer a lot of offerings. You know, Northeast ISD, we offer over 150 courses of CTE.
Oh, wow.
And I try not to even start saying them because obviously I'm going to leave some out, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a profession you can think of, we've probably got a program aligned to it in some way. And so it's
And
great.
and I talked to a couple of the city council members as well when they're pitching San Antonio, when they're trying to recruit businesses to come here and that sort of thing, the sale of San Antonio. One of the things I hear from them is that they want the students not only to be technically capable, competent, like you say, of medicine or construction or whatever their particular field is. You need to know the mechanics of that field, but also from what I've heard from the city council members, the people that they're pitching to are asking, okay, what about the general education? Are these people able to communicate? Are they capable of critical thinking?
Right.
How is their collaboration skills? Is that going to be how big a part of CTE is that going to be?
It's a huge part. It really is a huge part. We really have to work as a whole on our professional communication. That used to actually be a course, a standalone course that we offered here. We still offer it. It's not nearly as robust as it once was, but what we've done is we've taken those skills that are in that course and really encouraged our teachers to utilize those skills uh, and embed those skills in their curriculum. So again, when you have an audio video team from a high school that's going to be going into Bear Fest to work, those teachers, and you know who they are, they'll sit back and they'll work with the kids. Hey, we're going to go meet with this group today. Here's what we're talking about. What kind of questions do we want to ask? Who's going to be asking these questions? You know, who's going to be taking the notes? Are there other questions we should ask? And again, just that exposure to that communication. Now, I'll admit, you know, that we still have some shy and bashful kids that are going to be reserved, and that's fine. But I guarantee you by the end of that project,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of times that student's confidence has been bolstered, and they are the ones standing up on your stage with the trophies in their hands. And really, they've experienced a life-changing moment because of that experience. So.
I'm glad you mentioned the premiere event, because what I've seen is, I've heard it from teachers exactly the way you explain it, is the kids come into the process kind of shy and, gee, am I the only kid in San Antonio that really likes making videos? And they think they are, and they are unique, but they think they are isolated.
Right.
Then when we get together at the premiere and there are 40 high schools there and 400 kids and they're all into the same, I love video, I love audio, I love graphic design. The kids at one school find out, oh, I'm not the only one.
Right.
Suddenly the whole world gets not only a lot bigger, but a lot more inviting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A safer world, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have to feel so weird. There are other people like me. Yeah.
And it gives them hope that, okay, then if there's that many like me, then there are probably jobs aligned to what I like or my skill set. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the more opportunities we can give kids to succeed, the better. Give them every chance to succeed. And if their version of success isn't necessarily the same as my idea of success, but God bless them, go get them.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Ben, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight. Thanks for all you're doing for these high school kids. Guys like you are making all of San Antonio a better place, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Randy. And I appreciate what you're doing for our kids by giving them an outlet to really take what they've learned in the classroom and take it out to the real world. So thanks so much.
They make me feel like an old man. It's funny, they start out at 16, where it took me to 26 to get to where they are at 16. So yeah, I feel really old.